Hello there, you beautiful soul. Welcome back to another Culture Talk segment with your host and founder of Cultured Society. I am Rebecca Munoz, and I am here with another beautiful and special guest to join me on a conversation about life philosophies, experiences, and culture. I'm so excited and honored to have this special guest today because I just so happened to meet Rehna Mathews on a platform, a social media platform called Clubhouse. And if you are not familiar with this platform yet, it is a platform that is circulating and is really creating positive waves on this planet. And it's uniting and aligning souls that are on a similar mission to impact this world. And we are here on this platform not only to create space for people to share their stories and speak their truth, but also to inspire others that are on that journey of ascension and just really trying to figure out or already walking in their divine purpose. And I truly believe that during this time that we're living in, it is so important that we recognize that all of us individually have a very specific DNA code, and we were brought to this earth to fulfill that and to walk in that divine purpose so that we can really just inspire others to do the same. And it's really important for us to continue to share our story and talk about things that bring depth and just, inspiration, motivation, all the things in between that are going to allow you to continue to wake up every single day and recognize that you are worthy and that you too have such a specific purpose to fulfill on this planet. So I'm going to go into a series of questions today that are going to inspire the guest to just really reveal what has brought them to this place that they stand in today, what really inspires them, what motivates them, what philosophies they live by every single day that really just drive them to live life to the fullest. So Rehna Mathews has been on a journey to rediscover her true self. Her motto is get comfortable being uncomfortable. She thrives on meeting new people, embracing new experiences, and always curious. As a result of removing the layers placed by society and honoring her true spirit, she is feeling more joy and fulfillment in her life. 2021 was a particularly wonderful year for Rehna. She collaborated with 10 other poets from different parts of the world to publish their first book, Beautiful People and Words, a collection of poems from around the world. This was her dream, and she was the driving force behind this project. Since then, the social media community, Beautiful People and Words, was formed. They meet on Clubhouse a few times a week to share poetry and pour love into each other. Rehna has an amazing daughter and a beautiful cat who inspire her every day. And with this, I introduce the beautiful Rehna Mathews to this platform. Thank you so much for joining me today, Rehna.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. That's a beautiful, beautiful introduction. Thank you. That's
Absolutely. And I'm so glad because I had an opportunity, first of all, so Clubhouse doesn't allow you to see people's faces. You just hear their beautiful voice. And I was invited to be a part of this conversation of Beautiful People and Words from a good friend of mine, Ami, who I also introduced on this platform a few months ago. And I had an opportunity to share one of my poems, one of my pieces that I wrote a few years ago on this platform. And I was just so inspired by the time I left this conversation with people from all over the world, because they were truly just pouring love into each other and inspiring each other just to continue to speak our individual truth. And it's so important that we continue to do that during this time, because like I said earlier, we are so individual. However, we have very similar components that make up our human anatomy. We all have red blood flowing through our veins. We have a pumping heart. We have a brilliant brain that has billions of cells that allow us to be inspired every single day, to activate every single day, to walk in purpose every single day. And even though it may not look the same, we still have the opportunity to come together and open up this dialogue, to embrace each other, to accept each other, and maybe not necessarily adopt each other's philosophies, or we can agree to disagree, but we can respect each other at the same time, and we can walk in alignment with each other and raise the vibration of this planet, because Lord knows we need that more than ever before. So with this, I introduce the conversation of life philosophies and experiences, as well as culture. And I will say that the people that I have brought on to this platform are very unique, very diverse. We're a multicultural group of people that are spread out through all over the world. Rehna is coming to us today from Winnipeg, Canada. And you are from?
I'm actually East Indian. Like, I'm from India. I grew up in the Middle East. I was there till I was I think I was 18, till 18. Then I was in India for a few years. And then in 1998, I actually came here to Winnipeg, Canada. So I've been here ever since.
Yeah. Awesome. So we're going to be able to learn a little bit more about Rehna's story and really what experiences have brought her again to this place that she's standing in today. So with this, I ask you the first question, Rehna. What is your life's philosophy?
Well, the number one thing, like you were reading, my quote was get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's a philosophy because I knew I always lived it. I just did not realize that it was my philosophy, because like me, I love chaos. I like to be in that state of, oh my goodness, what am I doing here to get, I know what I'm doing now. But if everything is too routine and organized, it's like, it's just, it doesn't fit me. It fit me. So that is one of that. And the other thing too is actually knowing my true self. That has been a big thing that I started to publicly say to people. I think it might have been early last year, 2020, that I started to say that I'm on a journey to find my true self. And it became, even the verb I used to say find, and now it became know your true self. So that's become also my motto is Rehna Mathews, know your true self, So those are the two primary things that I go by. But in those, that seems to evolve into so many different aspects that, because sometimes we think that you need to have a lot of things to be like, you need to have A, B, C, D all to be aligned, but it's like, you just need one or two things, live with that. And it's amazing what happens, what doors open up, what experiences you come through. So yeah, so those are my two primary philosophies, I would say.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah. And, that is definitely a philosophy that is important for everyone to live by, because why would you want to be like anyone else? And we live in a society now that is very cookie cutter. We live in the mundane routine where we do the same thing every single day, right? And there's really no growth in that. There's really no growth in the comfort zone. We really have an opportunity to grow and transform through the discomforts of change, of daily change. And it's so important. Now, how would you say that philosophy has evolved through the years for you?
So how has it evolved? I would say it allowed me to embrace diversity more on a deeper level. So I'm fascinated with learning about different cultures, different religions, different faiths. And the prime example is Our Beautiful People and Words. If you look at the group, just even when our book got launched, you got people from India, you got people from Nepal, Asia, US, Canada, right? And now there's a few more people coming in, right? And, I don't know yet if they're part of Beautiful People Words, but it's just a matter of how consistent with the community. But again, I'm noticing people from Nigeria now, people from Australia, like there's a wonderful lady, she's Australian, but lives in Japan. And, she's part of the community. So it's that reach of people that are coming in. And I always would say that example that we to the world to show how people of different faiths, everybody can come together and just be, we're all in love with each other, and just be in love with each other. So it's embracing diversity and learning. So if someone says, oh, we have this festival happening, it's, everybody else say, okay, what is about this festival? And then they're all researching and learning. And so everybody's learning about other people, and we're not holed up, and just, we're here and this is what we believe in. That's what I know is what I'm seeing really, diversity, embracing that is a big one that's coming out of this.
So you mentioned that you grew up in India and you ended up in different parts of the world. I mean, really, and then ending up in cities or countries where there is a lot of diversity. I can imagine that Canada has people from all over the world, right?
Yes, it does. It definitely does. And, it's interesting because people have this, but Indian communities, they all tend to stay within themselves, within their culture. And if you look at me, I don't really have that. I have friends from everywhere because I appreciate that. Like, I mean, heck, if somebody wants to invite me to an event, which is celebrating their culture, I'm there. I want to be experience it. And I've had comments with a lot of people saying, wow, it's surprising. We always thought that you would be together, like, within your own community. And I'm like, well, that's not me. I'm different. That's expanding my horizons. And maybe I would think that because I lived in the Middle East, and then in India and Canada, maybe that also might have helped in that effect because I was exposed to different cultures. So yeah, that would also definitely has a part to play with that.
Absolutely. And it's so true because within our cultures, I'm Mexican, and that really happens a lot within my culture as well. So I'm right there with you. Really, the transitions or living in cities that are big melting pots give you the opportunity to be more open to the concept of unity when it comes to multicultural diversity. Because again, we are all made up of very similar components. It's our exterior that looks different, but that's the beauty. That's the beauty of, just living in a world that is filled with color. Now, how would you say that your upbringing and circle of influence has impacted the way that you think and live today?
Oh my goodness. Let's just say if you knew me from last year to this year, you would notice that there's a huge change. Like Rehna's not the same as she's last year. You go back 2 years, I'm not the same. And for doing this is that I am very careful with who I hang around with. It was not the case in the beginning, but it has been, and I've been very, very careful. So right now, I would say my beautiful people and words is my community. My daughter, obviously, she's my community. She's part of my circle, and people at work, but at that level, at a professional level. So I have people at different levels, I would say. But I think with beautiful people and words, specifically, I've just been, because the experience is very different. I find that I am shifting, and there's more shifts happening inside of me spiritually too. So I would say, yeah, I'm one of those people that if someone in my circle of influence, like my friends, if they're not good or if they turn out to be toxic, I actually let them go. I'm very good at letting people go from my life. If they're really if they cross that line, I let them go. But because I know that I want to kind of, preserve that energy, keep my energy and keep my sanity. And I want to stay true to myself too. So the more people that are aligned with me, I'm always seeking people that are more aligned with me. Yes. And it's always that journey. And beautiful people and words, this is where I'm at now. Who knows what's going to happen next year, right? Yeah. It's always evolving and changing.
So. I'm so glad that you said that, because we're always in a constant metamorphosis.
Yes.
And we're always shedding skin, especially when we're open to the idea of change. And it's so funny because in our society, we resist it so much. And people get really uncomfortable when they're used to the mundane routine, and then abrupt change happens. Like, for instance, 2020, nobody anticipated it. People within our generation have probably never experienced something so transformative like that. But if you really think about it, historically, it's it's been a part of history. These series of events have always been a part of our history. It's the thing that has shifted within our society now is technology. Technology can be used in a very negative way, or it can be used in a positive, the way that we're using Clubhouse and, these platforms like YouTube and blogging and Instagram. I like to say that my social media platforms are an inspiration board, but not everybody sees it that way, right? So you really have the opportunity to connect with people in a way that, when you are aligning with yourself and you recognize that we are in a constant metamorphosis, we're always going through different layers of these dimensions, right? And the more that we rise, the more that we align with people that are going through that process of ascension as well. And it's a never-ending process.
Yeah. I actually agree with what you were saying about technology, right? Like, that's your inspiration. It's interesting that a lot of people would tell me that, Clubhouse is the time, it's kind of useless. And I'm like, huh? Like, I had a very, very different experience with Clubhouse. So, and I'm leaving Clubhouse because they look at it as a very negative thing, like you were saying, their perspective, right? Whereas for me, it's like look what happened, what came out of it, look who I met, look what we created out of that. So it's just interesting when you have conversations. So what you said was really spot on, that have different experiences with that, the negative. And it's just interesting when you have those conversations, you're like, well, that's not my experience.
Yeah. No, and it's really good to be able to explore experiences for yourself and to have your own perception of them, and not allowing people to infiltrate or skew your perception of what your reality is. Which is why I agree with you that you can choose your circle of influence. I mean, you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And although you cannot change the people around you, you can definitely change the people around you, because you can choose who you're going to surround yourself with. And that is super important and critical during your ascension journey and your transformation, because we're always exchanging energy with each other. And it is a beautiful thing when you recognize that.
Yeah.
How would you say that, because you grew up in India, so I'm sure that, you were surrounded by just that culture, because would you say that in India, it's very diverse, or is it more so that culture?
India as a country is very diverse. So you have different states, different territories, different languages, different cultures. So India is very, very diverse for sure. And then within each community, people stay within their community. So so for me, it was like, yeah, I grew up in the Middle East, and then I was in India. And then while I was there, I actually got married, and then I came here to Winnipeg. Okay. That's how I actually came to Winnipeg. And but yeah, the thing was that I come from the south part of India, which is Kerala. And I know I cannot live there because I would just, someone like me would not fit culture.
What was the city? It cut out a little bit. What was the city?
It's Kerala.
Kerala.
Kerala. It's a state. It's in the southern part of India. It's absolutely gorgeous. They call it God's own country. It's beautiful, right? Yeah. But the thing is, I know I cannot live there, because someone like me who's out there wants to embrace culture, I like to step out of my comfort zone. A person like me is not a good fit to live there, because you would be constrained to, this is how you live, this is what you do. And it's like, I cannot do that. So yeah, that's the thing. But I appreciate aspects of it. I love their food. Like, if someone offers me food from there, I'm like, give it to me. Like, as I grow older, I appreciate food. So there's aspects of it I appreciate, but I know I cannot be fully immersed in it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's great that you were able to step away from that. And it also really gives you a deeper appreciation from where you come from, when you have the opportunity to go away from it, live in different environments, surround yourself with completely different environments than you were used to growing up. It just gives you it opens up and expands your perception.
Totally does. And I think also lately, I've been noticing the last few years, if I hear Arabic music, I'm like, oh, I get excited, because I was 18 years, I lived in the Middle East. That's a long time. Like, I grew up there. So anytime I hear Arab music or hear someone's from, the Middle East or any parts of that area, I'm like, oh, tell me more. Like, I get excited. I don't have anyone yet in our beautiful people and words. Hopefully someone will come in from that, would be nice, but I would just be all over that,
What city did you live in when you were growing up there?
So it was a city called Doha that was in Qatar. Qatar is the country. And yeah, I grew up there. So I remember hearing like the prayers a few times a day, the mosques. I grew up listening to that, hearing that. And then of course, Arabic music. And that's what I love about Winnipeg. They have Arabic restaurants. So I would sometimes go in there, have their food,
Nice.
and I would feel good.
Did you grow up Muslim or?
No, I grew up Catholic. But the thing is, in Doha, for example, it's a Muslim country, right? So they're very, very particular about their prayers. So I don't know their prayers, but when it was prayer time, radios, TVs, everything was shut off for those few minutes while so they were very, very, strict about their prayers. So yeah.
Interesting. I'm not, is there a lot of Catholicism in India, considering
the southern part there is, yes. Kerala. Oh yeah, the southern part of India, there is a lot of Christians, Catholics, yeah, definitely there is, yeah.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Now, speaking about your line of work, because I know that Beautiful People and Words is not what you do full time. This is a project that really fell into your lap as you were continuing to become or align with your true self. So would you say that your line of work infects our society with positivity?
Yes. Well, so here's the aspect. So I write poetry, which is a very creative, right side brain kind of thinking, right? I'm actually an IT nerd during the day. So my title is business and meeting with clients, designing solutions, etc. for software. So I enjoyed that too, actually, to be honest. It was one of my dreams. I wanted to be an IT person. And then I started as a programmer, and then now I'm a business analyst, which is fantastic because I get to talk to people and design, brainstorm. I love that. So how is it aligned? Here's an interesting part. When I came into this current company that I work for, I've only been there for 2 years. So when I started, I remember I walked in day one into the office. It was all these co-workers from India who are all from one state. All spoke to each other, and I was the only woman. So, so that was interesting, and and so what I did was, and of course they were very comfortable. Like again, that's an Indian thing. They stick together. And because they're from a different state, they speak a different language. So then I come in. I'm a woman. I'm from a completely different state, and I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. But what I did was I made the effort to connect with them, start learning words of their language so that I would say it back to them. So I would learn how to greet them and things like that. Anyway, fast forward now 2 years, like they're all very comfortable with me. But at the time I could see that they were just they didn't know what to do. And I had to come in and break the ice. And it's because, I could have easily just said, well, they should make the effort, but I didn't. I made the effort and I connected. And so now we can have great conversations. We have fun together when we talk. But that was what I feel is aligned, is in a way, it's like teaching them also to break that barrier, yeah, and embrace me. So
absolutely. And it's great because we all have the capacity to do that with authentic connection and really breaking those stigmas oftentimes and allowing yourself to just get to know people, open up the space to really get to know people and allow them to, express themselves and be their authentic, self. And that really is, I truly believe that really, gives us an opportunity to continue to, and I love to use the word infect because it could be used in a negative, it has a negative connotation, but we can always put a twist on words, and words are so powerful and they have the ability to activate people. And that's what we really are brought here to do, is to shine the light in the midst of darkness.
Yeah.
How do you stay relevant, unique, and true to who you are as a person?
How do I be true to, okay. So relevant in the sense is I honor what I want. I honor who I am. So if I find joy, I will do that. It could be listening to music. It could be just going for a drive, meeting people. It could be participating in something that publishing this book was something very new and scary, but it was something, but I learned a lot about myself, and it helped me to learn more aspects about. So to being true to yourself is sometimes we don't know how to do that. And I feel like if I try different things, I take on different projects, I get uncomfortable, and it's in those moments that you're like, you learn more about yourself, and you can reflect afterwards and be like, okay, yeah, okay, I can repeat that because I actually enjoyed doing it, and I'll repeat that. So those are things I do, is constantly trying different things, and that's how I stay true to myself, because that's who I am. I have to be, what was the word? Get comfortable being uncomfortable. That is who I am, and I have to honor that.
Do you think it's something that we do enough, like as a society, our humanity?
No, we don't. We don't. And it's interesting because I know people that like, we all have this mask and we all have this facade, and we all are walking around what we do. Why are we doing it this way? Because this is how we've done it, right? Without questioning. But I love seeing people when they get into that uncomfortable state, and you can just see their emotions come out. Sometimes it's ugly, sometimes it's not, but I'm kind of like, now I got to see them. Now I really got to see who they are, like they're good emotions, they're bad emotions, because all of a sudden the mask is gone, the facade is gone, their true self came out. And those are moments that I'm like, aha, now I know who this person is. Like, and I actually feel happy, and I feel happy because I'm like, I connected with that true sense of that, even if it was for like a few seconds. I saw that and experienced it. Yeah.
Was that a process that took you a while to really embrace?
Yeah, I think so. Here's the thing. While I was married, because it was that kind of like, you're in that culture, you have things you got to do. I knew that something was missing. So I would just go off and do my own little things, find stuff that I could do that will like stimulate me mentally, right? So at the time, I remember it was just being involved in church, and I didn't want to be just involved. I wanted like, give me more, give me more, give me more. It was what I used to beg the priest and the ministry leaders. So things like that I would do. And but I didn't realize that was what I was about. It was just more, I felt like, I want to try this, I want to try that. But that awareness came more in the last few years. Wait a second, Rehna, this is who you are. Because when I started living on my own, I tried just being in a routine, and I'm like, no, I'm not happy. So I have to throw stuff at myself to be like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm very uncomfortable, but okay, this is a good thing. So yeah, so that awareness only came in the last few years.
That's good. I mean, and again, it's a constant. I mean, you're shedding skin, so you're probably not going to even be at this place that you are now today, in a few days, next month, next year. And it'll be great to be able to come back to this conversation even and see how much you've really, ascended from the person that you are now.
Yep.
Do you believe that the line of work that you do is aligned with your calling and higher purpose?
I would say, not the actual work in itself, but I would say the process of work. So I just design software. Great. That's something, I guess it helps. But I think for me, more than the actual work, it's the working with the team, the leadership aspects. Those things are, I feel, more aligned. I feel like I'm more true to myself there because I don't put a mask in front of people while I'm at work now. Now I'm just very free. I am who I am. And yeah, that's what I would say. So not the actual work, but it's the process. And I feel like just with that, I inspire people, because 2 years in this company, I have people coming to me for advice and help, and and I can guide them through. So I feel like the leadership aspect of it is what I feel is very aligned with me.
And do you feel like the work that you have been doing over the course of your life has aligned you with the work that you did with Beautiful People and Words?
I would say not really, because again, I think beautiful people and words, I've done a lot of different things. And like I said, I enjoy doing it, but I think it's more of, this is what I do and I get paid. And like I said, the leadership aspect is what I'm aligned with. Beautiful people and words came, I think that's when I felt really, really aligned, because I'm like, oh my God, this is it. So I wake up in the morning thinking of them. I go to bed at night thinking of them.
I love that.
Yeah. So this one I know for sure is definitely aligned with me. Yeah.
Who introduced you to Clubhouse?
It was a friend of mine in Winnipeg called Michael. He's a personal development coach. So he had introduced me to Clubhouse. And while I was there, I was attending some of his rooms and in a different club. And then I was challenged to actually write a book on poetry, because I was talking about poetry. And then that's when I was challenged to, like, why don't you write a book, write poetry for 100 days and get it published? And I'm like, I could try that, but again, made me nervous. So I created this room and not sure what to expect. And that was June 6th. I remember the date. June 6th was when I created had the first room in Clubhouse for poetry.
And has it grown significantly since you started it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more people. The only thing is that, as more people started to come, I wanted to make sure that, there's a danger when you start in the beginning, it's so intimate, right? And you get to know people and you're in that beautiful space. And you were there when we had that intimate space, right? And then when there was time, more and more people started coming. And then it was a constant, like, okay, I need to revisit, is this what I want the spirit of beautiful people and words to be? And Ami is, luckily, she's my partner in command, I call her. She and I have had so many discussions because she's very invested in beautiful people and words, just like me. And so we would have conversations like, okay, what did we like? What did we not like? And so, yeah, it had grown. But the thing was that we had to sort of try to, in our way, scale it down back a little bit again, so that it's manageable. So like we keep it only for an hour and we limit how many people come up on stage. If it's like 8, 9 people, we turn off hand raising so not more people can come up. And so those are things we did. That way we can keep that essence of beautiful people and words. So it's one of those things where we're like, it's nice for it to grow, but let it grow slowly and properly. Like, I don't want to have followers for the sake of having followers. That's not, both Ami and I agree, that's not what we want. So we need to know, I would love to know everybody. Like the people in my book, I know everybody intimately. And that's what I want, is I want to know everybody who's part of beautiful people and words.
Absolutely. And that's really the beautiful aspect of purpose work, is really understanding the mission that you're on. And you really, I think that, as we go through our human evolution, you never fully arrive and you never fully understand, because we are forever students. We're always learning, we're always uncovering, we're always healing. And it's great, because when you embrace that concept of the human evolution as you go through it, you really understand how sacred it is and how important it is to have sustainability. And oftentimes when you grow so fast, you start to get misaligned, and then you start to be pulled in different directions, and then you start to do things for the sake of maybe popularity or the money, right? And we have to understand that when we are doing our mission work, we're going to be taken care of regardless of how many people or how little people are following, because the people that need to be there are the ones that really need what you have to offer. And even if it's growing slowly, it's all perspective, right? Because it's going to give you the growth that you specifically need for what it is that you're doing, and you're going to have better and more massive impact, or a greater impact on the people that you are working with. So that's really great.
Yeah, I mean, like, I remember that we were looking at the actual club, Beautiful People and Words, and we were like, think we were at 180 or something members. And I'm looking through the list and I'm like, I don't know, and that was the thing. So what we decided was, okay, let's cut down because I want to know each and every person. So if they have not been into our room, they have not shared, like it's just a number at this point, right? Like, so we actually cut down people and we made it an invite only so that, it's kind of like we know you're part of us and we built that relationship with you. Then it's like, yeah, come be a part of us. So it's kind of like, not like a very exclusive invite, but the point is like, that we want a real community. And when I talk about a community, it's like, yeah, I created this community, but I want this community. I don't like to be constantly, in the beginning, they used to always say this, Rehna created this, Rehna created this. And I would be like, well, take my name out of it. Like, this is now a community. This is not Rehna's community. Because the minute you attach my name, then it becomes, it's something else. It changes the spirit of it. So the thing is, it's kind of, and so I'm focused more on building leaders in the community. So I don't run the room has, like, we have Monday to Friday, the rooms run. But I am in that position that if I need to step away, the rooms can run. They're not waiting for Rehna to come and start the room and run the room. Someone else can take over and run the room. So I'm also about, and that's why it's important for me to get to know them so I can also inspire them, to step up, be leaders, take responsibility. And that's what is so beautiful about Beautiful People and Words, that they're all invested in it and they will be like, okay, well, Rehna, we got this, don't worry about it. And they just run with it and I can relax. Or like, even with everything that happened in the last week with, with the family member passing, I was, they all stepped in and I could just relax, and not be there if I didn't want to be.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. And that another beautiful part of alignment is finding your tribe, aligning with your tribe, and, aligning with souls that really, have a greater understanding of who they are. And so they have a greater understanding of the people that they surround themselves with. And oftentimes that tribe can start off really small. It's really small and intimate, but you have that level of trust that you can really just really implement whenever you are having conversations and connection with people. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to experience. Have you always had that, or is that something now that you're finding at this stage of life that you're in?
I think I knew at some level I had it, but I think now I can concretely use this as an example now. So when I've talked to about it, their response was, we knew you had this in you. And I was like, oh, I did not know that. So at least now I can see it. And so I've been reflecting even on the community. I've been reflecting on myself. And I'm like, yeah, I can. So again, it's like, I'm aware of it now and I can actually concretely say and use this as, yeah. But before I was like, yeah, like, I think I have it. I don't know. But now I've seen it and I'm like, okay, I definitely have it. So yeah.
That's great. That's great. What would you say that, or practices that you implement in your daily life to stay grounded and connected to your creator?
So I used to journal a lot, and I would journal in the morning, especially on weekends. I needed a long time. That was my thing, to stay grounded. But in the last few months, my journaling turned to poetry. So now I journal through poetry. So anything that goes through my mind, I've had times where in the middle of the night, I would get up at 2:00 coming through and I would just take my phone and just quickly just say it out loud, record it. And that is the thing that I do mostly, is that silent time journaling or poetry writing is the main thing that keeps me grounded. That's what I do. That's the main thing.
And what type of poetry do you write?
My poems are very spiritual. So very, very spiritual. And lately I feel like there's been another spiritual shift happening as I get more deeper into myself. And sometimes some of the words that come out, it's getting me to realize more of, and the part of being human is we're not all like the perfect creature and we got all our ducks in a row. And I'm not into that. It's more about saying, I am struggling with this. So I would write a poetry with what I'm struggling with, and then I will come to some sort of a resolve or a thought for some, to reflect on. That's what it is. So even, I don't know if you saw, like on Facebook, not Facebook, Instagram, I posted something, it just came out yesterday, was saying that I'm a mess, and I go through this, and and it was just being honest and raw. So that's what a lot of my poems lately have been, very raw. So when I recite it, I feel like people are getting to know me more on a deeper level. Okay, she seems composed, but she's got all of these stuff going on underneath her. And I'm feeling liberated to get it out on paper.
Yes, and that's really the beautiful part of our evolution too, is recognizing that it's messy and we definitely don't have it figured out. Literally, all of us are going through our human experience, figuring it out every single day. And it's every day is a new opportunity to create something new.
Yeah.
And so, I love writing and I love words because it really gives us a better understanding of our own thought process, but also really being able to relate to people through their authenticity and transparency. Would you be open to sharing what you wrote yesterday?
Oh my goodness. I should go get my phone. Do you have it on Instagram? I could put my phone.
Let me check.
You will, it's my latest post. I think you can see it.
Yes, let me find it.
Sure, yeah. It would be nice to hear you read it, Josie. Sure. It's always good to hear a different voice.
So it's just the latest one?
The latest one, yeah.
And is it the part on your actual photo?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Some days I'm a mess, raged with regret and guilt, but that's what makes me human. All I could do is soak up some sun rays, absorb the warmth, and forgive myself.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a constant. The grace and the forgiveness and the release every single day. It's a beautiful thing that we have an opportunity every single day to create a new experience, and we can leave what happened yesterday as history. It's a memory that we can perceive as something beautiful that we can evolve from. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. Those words are so beautiful and they're definitely needed.
Yeah, and actually, I was going to say there was one more piece I think I had written after my family member's passing. It's a short one, so I can read it. Okay. I have it here because this was what poured out after I watched, witnessed him pass away. So this is what I wrote. I said, just like that, in a matter of breaths, we eventually let go. The life we worked so hard for, the fights to satisfy our ego, the money, the glory, the accomplishments. At the end of it all that us, our essence that we leave behind. So that was what came out of me the next day. So
I'm taking that in and I'm embracing it because we need more of that. We need more of that that type of expression because we are constantly going through life transitions, and life and death is a very taboo topic. We don't really talk about it that much, especially when it comes to transitions with death. Yeah. And, I remember having a conversation with my dad one day, and we always have, because my dad is a philosopher by nature. And we were talking about the concept of death, and he's worked at the hospital for over 25 years. And his perspective of the hospital is of an airport. He says you always have people transitioning in, flying in, as well as flying out.
Wow. Yes. Oh my God, he's absolutely right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And when we embrace that concept of life, we recognize that we never really get left by these humans that were a part of our life, right? Their souls will always remain a part of this experience. It's their spirit, their memories that will always reside. And even when people don't transition into another dimension through death, right? We're always going through this ascension process, especially if we embrace the concept of change. Because when we're going through our own evolution, like let's say I get married and then I'm going into a new life with my partner. Oftentimes the relationships that I had prior to my marriage will fade. Some of them will stay, but I've gone through different transitions, like you, with movement, right? With moving to different cities and having to be the new person and embrace new relationships. And it's almost as though it was like you're mourning your previous life, because oftentimes those people don't remain.
Yes.
And so when you can embrace that concept, it makes these transitions so much easier, and it makes the mourning process a lot more comfortable.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you recognize that it's just the cycle of life.
Yep. Yep. Totally. It is. And yeah, it definitely brings that. And I think why I focused on saying in just a matter of breaths is because I saw and heard his breathing like regular, and then start to go and then that's it. It stops. And I'm like, just like that, and he let go. And I was like, and he was an accomplished person, etc. Right? Like there's all of that. And I'm thinking, so all these things that we fight about in our life and that we stress over, at the end of that, is it that important, right? So it's just like, but you have to let go at some point. So even if you can't let go then, you're going to let go at that transition. Like it's going to happen. And so it was just it was a very spiritual, profound moment. So those are things, so I try to write it down in poetry. It just flows out of me because I feel like that's my way of grounding and processing at the same time.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That is so beautiful. And that is such a beautiful way to self-express, to let go, release, and just keep it moving every day. Yeah. Keep it moving every day. Now, what words of wisdom would you give to those seeking a deeper understanding of themselves?
I remember asking this to somebody else who was very spiritual in one of the Clubhouse rooms. And he said, every person's experience is unique. We're all unique, right? We have, like you said earlier, we're similar components, but there are so many things that make us unique, right? So what works for one person doesn't work for the others, right? So that's why I don't like people preaching, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. Well, you don't have to, because it may not work for you, right? So what this guy said is he said, try everything. He said, it's like as if you have a bunch of keys and you're trying different keys. Does this work? No, drop it, take the next one. Does this work? No, drop it, take the next one. He said, at the end of the day, you're the one who can figure out what it is, but you can't figure it out unless you try different things. So that is that's why I think for me, I love embracing things, because that actually gets me to understand more about, okay, this gives me joy, this doesn't give me joy. And it's all by trial and error. So because we've forgotten who we were before society told us who we are, who we're supposed to be, we've forgotten that. So the one way I would do that is like, try every key, see what works, and just keep doing that. So that's the key, is a door to an experience. It doesn't work, throw it away, take the next key, and just keep doing that.
So when did that click for you?
It was my God. And like I said, again, a lot of those things was things I was doing and I didn't realize. But I remember that I was struggling with something, and I happened to go into one of his rooms on Clubhouse, and there was a guy, I really liked what he was saying. So I just came up with a question as telling him that, I'm struggling with my spirituality. There's so many things. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or not. And that's exactly what he told me, and it stuck. He said, you're unique. Well, what works for one person doesn't work for the other, but you got to figure out. No one else can tell you. Like, I can't tell you, Rebecca, what works for you. You would know it, right? Same, vice versa. So, but the only way by doing it is trying. So if people say meditation, journaling, gratitude journal, like, you got to try it to see what sticks, right? So, but if you don't try anything, nothing's going to happen. So it's try it, fail. And it's okay to fail. I mean, I've done things that I've been like, okay, this isn't for me. And then people were like, oh, what happened to that thing 2 years ago? It didn't work, move on. Like, I'm moving on to the next thing. So it's try, let go, try something else, and just keep going that. And I think that is how you discover more about who you really are, and enjoy the process.
Enjoy the process. Absolutely. And you're right. Oftentimes we allow the illusion of fear to restrict us from trying what we have in our heart, right? We want to do it, but because we're so scared of the unknown of what might or what might not happen, we don't even do anything. We stay stuck, we stay stagnant, and we don't take action. But there's so much beauty in taking action, even when you don't know the outcome, because you never know the outcome. And even if you do something that you've done before, it's a different experience because it's probably with a different person or a different aspect of your life. And it's always going to be a different experience. And so it's just trying. And I don't really believe in failure. Do you?
That is one I honestly still struggle with, but it's a lot of self-talk because, when you're a kid, like, I don't know about your growing up, but with my grow up is you failed an exam, that's the end of it. You failed at something, that's the end of it. So unfortunately, that stigma of failure still stays, right? But I'm only starting to embrace it now. Okay, you make a mistake, no big deal. It's a learning aspect of it. Even right? Let's say if I made a mistake, it could be the tiniest mistake. Oh my goodness, I am like analyzing the thing to death. And then when you look at it, you're like, it's not that big a deal, like, it's not like, the world's going to come to an end. It's whatever. So I've been consciously working through that process of telling myself that it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to, and, and when I look back at my life, I've seen a lot of failures were necessary for me to move to the next level. Because if I stayed the proper way, everything was fine, I don't think I would be at this phase of my life right now. So the failures were necessary. So it's always when you look back, and I love reflecting. I always reflect. I love to connect the dots. So I would look at all this and I'd be like, okay, this didn't happen. And then I can see like a events and I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, that's awesome. And coming into Clubhouse, meeting my friend Michael, coming into Clubhouse would not have happened if I had not lost my job 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like and at the time I thought I was a failure. I was let go and I thought, oh my God, this is it. And it was through that I was able to go to some event, which I would not have gone if I was working. I met my friend Michael, and that's through that. And Michael was the one who introduced me to Clubhouse, and look where we're at now. So I love to connect the dots that way. And I'm like, so a really good thing came at the time. We can't see it, but later, years ahead, you'll be like, oh yeah, I see it now. So
yes, everything is divinely connected. And sometimes when we're in the messy process, in the midst of it, our judgment is clouded and we don't really have the capacity, especially if it's something that's very detrimental to our well-being.
Yeah.
But it's usually through those detrimental experiences that awaken your awareness and you're able to see things clearly when you've gone through it. But the only way to get through that experience is through it, not avoiding it, not going around it, right? Like you have to go through it. And even with the healing process, we can sedate all we want with all the things, right? With alcohol, with jumping from relationship to relationship, with work, with all the things. But if we don't allow ourselves to fully feel, we cannot heal.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we definitely need to. And I think what I also learned, and I think this was with discussions with Ami, was learning about surrendering and acceptance. Like something happens, you like, what else? Like sometimes you just want to fight it, right? Like you fight it, you try to avoid it, whatever you want to do. But it's just that, you surrender, you accept, and then you just don't know how much, like the grace that comes afterwards. That is huge. So that's the thing. But of course, when something detrimental happens, let's see what if the next thing happens, if I remember those lessons that, wait a second, okay, maybe this is a good thing. But I've always noticed that it's at that time I would be like, oh my goodness. But years later, I would be like, see what was happening.
Yes, no, that's so beautiful. Rehna, I mean, I'm just really grateful that I had an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you through this conversation and to really, understand how important it is to be vulnerable and transparent, when it comes to our process, because that's how we're able to grow, transform, and connect with others that are on that same wavelength and journey. And there are more of us than we would like to, or we care to admit sometimes. There are a lot more people in this world that are seeking purpose and that are on that path of alignment and really, just embracing and fully understanding what we're here to do. And it's really important for us to, connect together to really be able to raise the vibration of the planet, because we need so much more of that now. We need more love. We need more connection, authentic connection. We need more transparency, and we need more people definitely walking in divine purpose.
I really agree with that, Rebecca. Yeah, definitely. We need that. And I think that's why the beautiful people, slowly, hoping that people that are seeking that can come and just be a part and just be themselves, be who they are. And the word love is huge. I mean, love, to me, love is the highest form of vibration. And when you have that, everything else seems to fall in place, So yeah, that's what I would say too. I 100% agree with you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Do you have any finishing statements that you'd like to add?
Well, I just want to say thank you very much, Rebecca. And I'm so blessed and honored to connect with you. And because I loved when you read your poetry, I still remember that. And your voice, I remember, was so powerful when you recited it. I was like, oh my goodness, yes, so I love that. I love that about you. I love your smile. I think I've told you that you have a very electric smile. And keep shining that light. I mean, I see what you're doing, and I love what you're doing, and you are blessed, is what I can say. And keep shining that light, Rebecca. That's all I want to say to you.
Thank you so much. And all of us, we need those words of affirmation, because when we're walking on this path, oftentimes it can be a little bit lonely, because when you tune into your own voice and you stay in your own lane, our society oftentimes is not going to understand it, and they're not going to see the vision that you have. But that's okay, because it's your vision and it's been given to you for that specific reason. And nobody has to understand it. However, when you are on that path of truth within yourself and you're listening to your inner guidance and you're allowing spirit to flow through you to do the things that you're being called to do, you're going to align with people like Rehna, who are on that same path and understand the journey and will support you and will affirm you and will love you unconditionally through that process. So we encourage you today, if you are tuning into this conversation, whether it's now, tomorrow, next month, next year, 10 years from now, these conversations are so important every single day to remind you that you yourself are so unique and divinely inspired. And all it takes is for you to activate that within yourself every single day, and developing that awareness within yourself to be able to say, you know what, I'm worthy, and my voice matters, my story matters. And whether I write about it, whether I talk about it, whether I go out and do whatever it is that I need to do to express that, do it, because we need more of that. And the more that we do that, the more we become so in love with the process, we become so in love with ourselves. And when we become more in love with ourselves and we tune into ourselves, the more we're able to give that out to the world selflessly. And we need more world servers. We need more light workers. We need more way showers. We just need it more than ever before in this day that we're living in. So with this, I leave you. I send you so many blessings and so much light to you today and every day moving forward. Thank you and God bless.